G'day everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about what are the stages of sleep and what the heck does that mean? Well, let's go through it. Well, the best way to work that out is to measure someone's brainwaves, and we do this with an EEG by placing electrodes on the scalp, and then we can have a look at their brainwaves and determine what stage of sleep they're in. But we also need to look at their EOG, that's their eye movements, because eye movements can change in different stages of sleep. And then we've also got EMG, which looks at their muscle tone, their muscle activity, because there's some stages of sleep that don't actually have much muscle activity to them. And when we combine all of these, then we can determine what stage of sleep someone is in. So here's a graph that we usually take clients through to understand about the different stages of sleep. So you can see down on the x-axis there, we've got the hours across the night. And then on the y-axis, we've got the level of sleep. So going from light sleep to deep sleep. And when we ask people in the community to draw a line from the beginning of the night and then towards the end of the night, some sort of curve that represents what they think happens with sleep, we usually find something like this. So they believe that they go into a deep sleep early in the night and then gradually wake up towards the end of the night. But in actual fact, sleep looks a bit more like this, like a roller coaster, going from light to deep to light sleep and continuing this on through the night. So the first stage of sleep is called stage 1 sleep, and this is a really light stage of sleep. So people often will find that they're having thoughts that are going through their mind. They can actually be aware of some of their surroundings, but they're starting to sort of let go of their surroundings. So imagine that there's an old couple that just had dinner, they go to the lounge and they're starting to watch TV. Suddenly the old man is snoring and then gets an elbow from his wife. And he says, I was listening, I was awake. And she says, fine, what happened just in the last 10 seconds? And he manages to actually recall the last 10 seconds of the TV show. And then she says, what happens in the last minute? And then he can't remember. So we can actually have a memory trace of just what's happened, but not necessarily for a long time. So we're starting to let go of our surroundings. The next stage of sleep is stage 2 sleep. This is more of a moderate stage of sleep in terms of its depth. And you might sort of think about it in terms of having a nap in the afternoon and being in that zone where you think you fell asleep, but you didn't go into a deep sleep. Speaking of deep sleep, that's the next stage of sleep. So you get stages 3 and 4. And this is when you're starting to really let go of the world. So for example, I had a 90-year-old client who knew that he got deep sleep because he remembers one time when he woke up in the morning that he went outside, there was all this commotion in the street, and he found out that a lightning bolt had hit a tree, but he had no memory of it. But he knew if he didn't wake up from a lightning bolt hitting a tree, he was definitely getting some deep sleep. Now, after that, we go into that deep sleep, we then come through the light stages of sleep into what's known as REM sleep. Now, REM sleep is a dreaming sleep, and sometimes people think it's a deep sleep, but it's actually a light stage of sleep. And it's a really fascinating type of sleep as well. It's related to our learning and memory, but also processing of emotions. So say, for example, we process the emotions that we've just experienced in the previous day, but good REM sleep will also allow you to prepare emotionally for any stressful events the following day. So it's a really cool one that we're learning about. The other thing to note is that we go through these sleep cycles, and that's going from light sleep to deep sleep and back up to light sleep. Now these take about an hour and a half to cycle. And when you think about it, if you add these up, say for instance, if someone is saying that they're waking up after 3 hours or 4.5 hours or 6 hours, it's likely that they're coming up from a sleep cycle into light sleep and then managing to wake up. So sometimes just even talking about the stages of sleep in this sort of way can help people understand why they're waking up. Now, the other way to look at our sleep stages is to not necessarily look at the trees, but to step back and look at the forest. So if we look at the first half of the night, we get the majority of our deep sleep in the first part of the night. Now, the reason being is that's related to a concept known as sleep pressure. So sleep pressure builds when we wake up during the day, and it gets so intense by the end of the day that it really tries to push itself in. So that's why we get a lot of deep sleep in the first half of the night. But if we look at the second half of the night, we get a bit of a shift here. We're not seeing so much deep sleep, but we're seeing more REM sleep. So this is important because what happens is that sometimes, for instance, if you're waking up a bit too early, you're not getting enough REM sleep. And remember that REM sleep is related to learning and memory. So it's really important that we try to get our full complement of sleep during the night. So just keep in mind, the way we learn about stages of sleep is because we're looking at the EEG and other measurements. So unfortunately, that watch that you've got on your wrist that might be telling you that you got so much REM sleep last night, well, watches and wrists don't measure brainwaves, so they can't tell you what stage of sleep you're in. So I'm sorry about that. I'm only the messenger. Don't blame me. So in summary, sleep is like a roller coaster where we go from light to deep and back up to light stages of sleep. We cycle from light to deep to light sleep every 1.5 hours. We get most of our deep sleep in the first part of the night, and we get most of our REM sleep in the second half of the night. And the only reliable way of measuring our sleep stages is with EEG. So remember to please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell if you have subscribed. Visit our website where we've got more sleep education, blogs, and a bunch of sleep tips and sleep treatments, all backed by science, including some of the science that we've performed ourselves. Thanks for watching.